Nick Castellanos was asked about the expectations for this team, given that they've fallen one step shorter in the playoffs each of the last 3 years. And my thinking has been, I don't think there's another baseball team in the majors right now that's under more pressure to win a World Series here in 2025. I can't. I mean, I just with if you want to win one with this core group that's been here for the last 3 or 4 years, you want to have that celebration, and you want JT and Kyle and Ranger and everybody else. You want them all to be together. This is probably the last year that you're going to have to do it with this particular group of players. And so I do think, we'll talk about extensions for at least a couple of those guys here in a second. But, there's a lot. I feel like there's a sense of urgency. And you would think that, the fan base being dissatisfied with the offseason, and it doesn't look as though the team is markedly better on paper than it was a year ago. And you see what the Dodgers have done. The Mets have improved. The Braves are, after a slow start to the offseason, they've made some moves here late. Nick Castellanos is not thinking the same thing that we are. He said, I do think we have less pressure as a team this year, especially with everything the media said about us when we lost last year and we didn't really go out and make any crazy changes. So if we lose, you guys look smart, which is dope, right? But then if we win, it's like a happy surprise. It's kind of a freeing place to play baseball. Know what I mean? Now,
no, I don't. I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
We all know Nick Castellanos sees the world differently. We've talked about it on this podcast. He sees the world differently. He looks at things through a different lens. And if he's approaching this season with less pressure on himself, feeling like there's not as much pressure to win, then I think that's great. Because if that's how he wants to get into the right mindset to play this season, wonderful. It is patently false that there is less pressure on this team this year. Like, Liz, there's no world in which this statement is remotely true, correct?
Yeah, like I see where he's coming from, but then he takes like a sharp right turn and goes completely off the road. The road is going one way, and Castellanos is just in the field somewhere, falling into a gopher hole. I'm not quite like I get what he's. We have less pressure. The media was very critical because we didn't make any changes. It's like, it's just, is he talking about baseball, or is he talking about the media asking him that question? Because it sounds like a Nick Castellanos, having a smart mouth with the media, which is fine. Like, he does what he does. It's the way he is. And the guys in the clubhouse and whatnot, they all understand it to a certain extent, I think. But if they win, it's not a happy surprise.